All right, Gillian. We are live on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'm very happy to see you in our session. Thank you very much for joining us. And so let's wait a few minutes. Just
Okay.
our viewers will join us.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. Really great to be here this morning. Or this evening for you guys, yes.
Yes, the evening here in Kyrgyzstan, the morning in the United States. Oh,
Yes.
our first viewer join us. That's good. So, good evening, dear friends. Bishkek American Center is welcoming you. Thank you very much for joining our session. And we are very excited to continue our regular program, Virtual US State Tours. And today we are going to visit South Dakota. And let me introduce our amazing guide today, Gillian Morris. So she was born and raised in a small town in South Dakota, and currently she is studying computer science at Dakota State University in her home state. And moreover, she is interning with the US Department of State and is the assistant for the diplomat in residence central. And when she isn't studying or working, she enjoys socializing with people or doing art and craft. So thank you very much, Gillian, for this wonderful opportunity to learn more about your home state, South Dakota. And also, dear friends, I want to kindly remind you, so please don't forget to send your questions or leave your comments during the live under this video in the comment section. And after the presentation, we will answer your questions. So thank you very much, everyone. And the virtual floor is yours, Jillian.
Right. Well, hello everyone. I will share my screen here. Um um okay, hold on.
Okay, okay, good, don't worry. So people are very excited.
Sorry. Okay. So, see the presentation?
Yes, it works.
Awesome. Okay, we'll start in on it then. Hello from South Dakota. We will start right in on your virtual tour of South Dakota. Um, before we start, I'd like to start with a disclaimer. I am not an official representative of the U.S. Embassy in the Kyrgyz Republic. Opinions expressed are solely my own and do not express the views or opinions of the U.S. Embassy, Kyrgyz Republic. Okay, so welcome to South Dakota. We'll start with just a little bit about me, and then we'll go through some South Dakota basics, and then we'll go through some food and culture, and then the people, and then the geography. So, a little bit about me on this page. So, here we have pictures of me and my family at different places in South Dakota. So, I'm from the right side of the state. And so, in the upper left hand corner, we're in the Black Hills, and that's on the left hand of the state. So we don't get to go out there often. So that's really a special occasion to be out in the Black Hills for me personally. And then under that, we're in front of a corn piece, which is out in front of the Corn Palace. In the middle, we're in front of the Dignity statue. I have a little bit more about that later. And then on the right, we're in a wagon cart that kind of takes you back in time a little bit to when the first settlers were first moving to South Dakota. Um, so, what you might think of when you think of South Dakota, we have the Corn Palace, which is, a place where there are corn murals, and they have artists that take corn from the harvest every year and make a new mural every year. So that's pretty cool. Under that, we have the Sioux River, and that is a specific part in Sioux Falls where the Sioux River falls, and that's how Sioux Falls got its name. In the top there, you have the Badlands, which is pretty popular. And then under that, Mount Rushmore is also very popular. And on the last picture is a picture of the monument of Crazy Horse. But the purpose today is not to go over what you might know about South Dakota. It's to hopefully teach you something that you don't know about South Dakota. So, where is South Dakota? It is a landlocked state. In the northern middle part of South Dakota, you can see it highlighted in red there. I also included the flag of South Dakota there under the U.S. flag. It's a nice light blue color, and it says we're the Sunshine State. That's not our actual nickname. I have that a little bit later in the PowerPoint, what our nickname is. And here is a close-up of South Dakota. As you can see, the terrain is mostly the same, pretty flat on the east, and then as you move west, there becomes more variation, and then that green spot on the right is where the Black Hills is, and you have just the river splitting the state almost nicely in the middle. So how did South Dakota become South Dakota? We were originally part of the Dakota Territory, so we were together with North Dakota for a time. However, the people in the north of the Dakota wanted a different state capital than the people in the south, and so the arguments over that kind of caused the president to be like, okay, so we're going to give you 2 states, solve the issue right there. And so he split the states in 2, and now we have North Dakota and South Dakota. Fun fact, when the president was deciding which state he would sign into the Union first, there was a lot of arguments over who would be assigned to the Union first. So what he did was he mixed the papers around, and then he chose one and he signed it, and that happened to be North Dakota. So South Dakota got signed in second, but they technically became part of the Union at the same time. And for the nickname of our state, we are referred to as the Mount Rushmore State. Not as fancy as maybe the Sunshine State, but it still describes South Dakota because we have Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills. So here you can see that South Dakota and your country are about the same size. There's just 5 kilometers squared difference. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then here you can see the population difference, which is crazy to me. So in South Dakota, we have 880,000 people, while you guys over there, you have 6.5 million. So in perspective, you'd have to take the population of South Dakota times 8 to be close to where you guys are in population. Or another way to look at it is the population of Bishkek is the same size, or has the same population as that of South Dakota. And I thought that was so interesting, and I just had to include it. So we'll move on to the cuisine. Some famous South Dakota cuisine that we have. So we have buffalo burgers, chislic, pheasant, and walleye. Another thing about pheasant and walleye, so the Chinese ringneck pheasant, which is what I am referring to when I say pheasant, is the South Dakota State bird, and then the walleye there is our state fish, and that's why it's kind of South Dakota's cuisine, is because they're both our state bird and fish. Next, we have some cuisine from the Native American culture that we have here in South Dakota. We have a big Native American community here, so I just had to include this. In the top, there is wasna. So wasna, what that is ground meat, usually like ground beef or ground bison, mixed with dried dates and some grain. So basically, it's a protein bar thing. And then under that, we have fried bread. And so fried bread is this like fluffy, crispy bread that is fried, hence the name. But what you can put on fried bread, you can put that jelly sauce that is on the big picture right there. You can put that on fried bread, and so that sauce is usually made of choke cherry preserves. And then I've never had it, but it looks delicious. And then another thing you can do with fried bread is make an Indian taco. So what an Indian taco is, instead of using your traditional taco shell, you use fried bread, and you put all of the taco stuff and put that on the fried bread. If you ever get the chance to try an Indian taco, I would highly recommend it. The fried bread just really brings it all together. So the culture, we have 3 main cultures here in South Dakota. So we have the Native American culture, the Midwest culture, and then the immigrants culture. The main culture with immigrants is Mexican, because we have a lot of Mexican immigrants. However, we also have other immigrants, and that really adds to the culture of South Dakota. So the people, I really wanted to highlight the Native American people under the people section, because they are a big part of not just of American history, but also specifically South Dakota. So in these pictures, you can see the different Native American cultural dressing and different gatherings. One down in the bottom is a powwow, and all these pictures come specifically from the Rosebud Sioux tribe, and they are a Lakota tribe here in South Dakota. There are 9 different tribes in South Dakota currently, and this would just be one of them. Here is some beadwork in different skirts that were made by the Rosebud tribe that you saw on the last page. And here in the upper corner, we have the Dignity statue, which is located in the middle of the state. And so that statue really represents the Native American culture and the hope that we have for the culture, and just just represents the Native American culture as a whole. So we have on this slide, we have a significant Native American person from history. It's called Sitting Bull. He was a main proponent in protecting the Black Hills when we had settlers moving out to the Black Hills who didn't really know how to take care of the land as one might have wished. So Sitting Bull was a main proponent in protecting the land out here. Another main proponent is Crazy Horse, which there is currently a monument being built. You can see in the bottom corner what Crazy Horse will eventually look like and where he's at right now. So the funding for Crazy Horse is completely public, and because of this, it's going to take a while to eventually get to that final state where he's pointing off into the distance. But we'll eventually get there. You can already see that the face is already carved out, and you can kind of see the hand pointing, and they already have a hole started in the middle. But Crazy Horse was another main proponent in protecting the Black Hills and the lands and protecting the Native Americans as settlers were moving out into South Dakota. Some other people that were important to South Dakota's history were the immigrants that came to South Dakota during the South Dakota Gold Rush. In 1874, gold was found in South Dakota, and after that, many people just started moving out to South Dakota, and towns were being built. One such town was Deadwood, and there were a few famous people that came from that. One of them was Wild Bill. They had a lot of poker players back then, and Deadwood's really known for was really known for its poker back then, and it's poker now actually. But Wild Bill was playing poker in a saloon, and then was shot. He had 2 aces and an 8 in his hand, and that became known as the Dead Man's Hand. But because of Wild Bill, and his history with that, when Seth Bullock came into town, he became the first sheriff of Deadwood because of all of the lawlessness and order, like just the lack of order in the town caused Seth to be like, I think we need some more law and order in this town, so I will be the sheriff. On this page, we have 2 more important people from Deadwood. Calamity Jane was another major poker player. She liked Wild Bill, and then after he died, she became a nurse in Deadwood and helped with the smallpox epidemic in Deadwood. And then Poker Alice was another poker player, and she used her earnings to help her family out of a bad situation and kind of helped settle Deadwood, and people came from all over to play her, and that really helped the town grow and kind of settle in where it's at today. So moving on from the people to the geography of the state. So we have 3 main regions in South Dakota. We have the Black Hills, West River, and East River. So the people of South Dakota, we like to refer to the state as like West River and East River, and we kind of split it from there. Black Hills is usually included in when we refer to West River, but so the East River region of South Dakota, that's more of your the elevation is usually a lot flatter. There's a lot of plains. In this picture, you can see that there's a lot of fields, and we grow a lot of corn and other crops here, mostly corn. We also have cows. A lot of cow farms. We have a couple dairy farms. We have some Hereford farms. And we raise a lot of cattle here too. And then the picture under that is under the field and next to the cows is one I took from my house of just your perfect South Dakota sunset. Excuse me. So that's East River, really flat, lots of fields, lots of cows. West River, you have a little bit of a difference with elevation, and it's not as wet. They don't get a lot of rain West River as they do East River, so they don't have as many fields West River. Also, the elevation makes it so you can't have as many fields West River. Then the last region, Black Hills, which people of South Dakota like to just refer to that as West River also, but it's completely different from the rest of West River. So the Black Hills, there's a lot of elevation in different rock formations, have a lot of pine, and it's a beautiful area that's really different from the rest of South Dakota. Then the picture with the buffalo, that's from Custard State Park, and that's included in the Black Hills because it's like at the base of the Black Hills, really, really close to the rest of the beautiful area. So that's why that's included with the Black Hills. And then we just have a page full of cows because so my roommate was just like, you need to have cows because there are a lot of cows here along with the corn. So I have a page of cows, and that is South Dakota. Thank you for listening to this tour of South Dakota.
Thank you very much, Gillian, for the great trip to South Dakota. Everything was really interesting. Thank you for this fascinating presentation. And we started to receive some questions and comments. And let me read one by one. So, hi, Gillian. Very interesting. Thank you. And the next comment, like fried bread look like our national dish named borsok. We really have the same dish. It's very, very similar. I also noticed it. It's interesting. Yes, it's very interesting. The second comment, like, great, we have fried bread here as well.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yes.
Yes, a lot of similarities. Um, Thank you, Julian. Great presentation. Love the beautiful landscape. What city in South Dakota has the best weather?
It depends on the time of year, really. So we get a lot of snow in the winter, and it gets really cold, like around zero. Like it in the winter, it usually stays around 0 degrees Celsius here, so you really gotta bundle up. But I would say Sioux Falls, which is our big city area, as big as a city can be in South Dakota. That stays fairly temperate. It's a bit to the south too. Um, in the Black Hills, Rapid City, they get a lot of snow. However, I think that it stays pretty temperate, kind of like it doesn't get to your 0 degrees Celsius very often, and it doesn't get too hot in the summer either. So
Mm, does it mean that South Dakota have like four seasons?
yes, so South Dakota has 4 seasons, and yeah,
What is your favorite season in South Dakota? Which is the most beautiful?
I really love fall. So in the fall, the tree, like certain trees get turn different colors, like red and orange and brown, and it I personally think that's the most beautiful, is when the trees are all turning colors and then they start to fall and the air is just really
Mm.
crisp, and it's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. When I also thank you, Jillian, for your
Yes.
answer. When I searched for South Dakota, I noticed that there are a lot of national parks. The nature is very beautiful. Is it true?
Yes, there are many national parks out here, and it's very beautiful. South Dakota is more of a trying to preserve the land kind of thing, and that's another reason why we don't have many people out here either, in very small towns.
And uh, it is not like flat, yes? I mean,
Um,
we have mountains. Like, but,
so a
uh-huh,
lot of it is flat. So the east is very flat. Many fields. The west is more flat. There's a little bit more of a difference in elevation. But then the Black Hills, which is you think would be a bigger part of South Dakota, but it's really a small portion. But and that's where all your beautiful hills and mountains and trees are.
mm, cool. Thank you very much, Julian. The next question is, what animal is the Dakota State symbol?
I should have looked this up earlier. I'm not exactly sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Sure.
think okay, so it's the coyote, which is interesting because I don't think we have many coyotes anymore. But that is our state animal.
Mm-hmm. I heard that the second name, I mean, the South Dakota's other name is like Coyote State. It's pretty interesting.
Yes. That is pretty interesting. I guess I haven't heard that. You more hear of Mount Rushmore, if anything, but yes, that's interesting.
Yes. The next question. Hello, thank you, Julian, for the presentation. I want to know what makes South Dakota unique, special from other states.
So what makes South Dakota unique from other states would be the I would think the variation in the state's geography, because you have so much flat land, and then all of a sudden you have the Black Hills,
Mm-hmm.
and then another great thing about South Dakota is all its national parks here, and that's what I feel really makes South Dakota different um, than other states.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Julian. I think we
Yes.
have similar question. Like, what differs South Dakota's culture from others? Mhm.
So South Dakota's culture is um, more Midwest. It's similar to other states, but it also incorporates the Native American culture and the um, Mexican culture because we have a lot of immigrants from Mexico up here. Um, so the Midwest culture is there. There's a lot of farms, and so the culture is it's very tight knit up here. Like um, we have our neighbors' backs, even if we don't know our neighbors, and sometimes your neighbors are a couple miles away, and you may or may not know them, but you still like it's very close knit in the fact that you just trust people up here, whereas in like bigger cities I feel like you really need to get to know someone first before you trust them, where out here you it's a very trusting community whether you know the person or not.
Mm, great. Thank you, Julian. The next question: does South Dakota have a state motto?
um the only this isn't really a motto, but the only thing that I can think of is great faces, great places, and
Mm-hmm.
that's our motto. It's kind of on our it's on our car license plate. It says great faces, great places. So the faces refers to Mount Rushmore, and like the places would be the national parks and things. And so that's I don't think that's really what you meant by state motto, but that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes, great. Thank you, Julian. The next question: are there any unusual or extraordinary traditions in South Dakota?
Um, some it's not really unusual or any of that, but a lot of the Native American culture is we're working towards maybe making that more integrated with the rest of South Dakota, and so like powwows and such, and kind of introducing the um, not Native American people of South Dakota to that
Mm-hmm.
culture is something that's like that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you very much, Julian. The next question: how the Mount Rushmore got his name?
So Mount Rushmore, that's an interesting question. I not really sure. I should have looked that up before coming. That's my bad. I should have been more prepared. But Mount Rushmore has four different presidents' faces on it, and that's to memorialize those presidents because they each did something important to contribute to the U.S. And so the government was like, okay, we're gonna make this monument in South Dakota, and we had many. We have you know great rock formations here, so they're like South Dakota is the perfect place to
Uh-huh.
put that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I guess it's the Mount Rushmore, the most popular place in South Dakota.
It
Yes.
is. It really is the most popular place in South Dakota.
Uh, Great. Um, the next question, really personal. Would you like to visit Kyrgyzstan?
I would. I have to say I don't know much about your culture, but I really would love to learn more and come and visit sometime. I think that like when it's safe to come and visit, of course, I would love to eventually do that.
Yes. We will wait, Julian.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question. Do people love the cold in South Dakota. Is ice fishing is popular there?
Yes, people I don't know if they love the cold, but they love ice fishing. Like personally, my dad, he'll go fishing as much as possible.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people that really enjoy ice fishing. I don't like the cold. It's okay once in a while, but sometimes it gets to be a little bit too much. But that's something that I'll live with, to be in South Dakota, because it's such a great state.
Mhm. Cool. Thank you very much, Gillian. The next question. Is the rodeo official state sport in South Dakota?
Um, there's really no official state sport in South Dakota. Rodeo is a pretty main sport in South Dakota, but there are other Midwest states that do that. I've been to a few rodeos myself. I would say that it could be an official state sport. Another sport that's really popular, like we have a lot of teams for it, is
Mhm.
ice hockey, which I found interesting. Because I feel like ice hockey is more of a sport popular in other states, but I found that earlier this week, and it was just like, oh, that's interesting. Sorry that I didn't include it. I there aren't that many uh, team like
Mhm.
nation sports like teams here in South Dakota, so I didn't really include any of that.
Mhm. You're pronouncing like rodeo?
Um, I
Or
say rodeo.
rodeo? Oh,
Yes,
I always thinking like rodeo.
right.
Sorry for
Yes,
mispronouncing.
I think that pronunciation's better. Kind of it rolls off the tongue.
Thank you, thank you, Julian. And the next question: what is your favorite place in your hometown?
So I grew up in a really small town. Like the population is about 700 people, so that's pretty small. There's not too much. Like the downtown street would probably be my favorite place. We have a beautiful mural that's pretty new, but
Mhm.
it's just a mural of the different things in our hometown, and that's probably my favorite place, just because it's very like that mural's really colorful, and it really ties together the whole hometown.
Mhm. Great. Thank you for sharing it, Julian. And I think this question is the last question. It might be exciting to have deep snow winters, especially for kids building igloos, how to pronounce it, and sliding on the icy ponds. What stories can you share from your childhood?
Oh yes. So um sledding is really fun. So I
Mhm.
lived on a hill area, so I lived more in the country and not in the town. But so this hill was really steep, and it's like right next to a lake. And so I went sliding down the hill, and then there are some rocks down to the lake, and I went a little too far, and I went down on the rocks and onto the lake. And the lake was frozen, so it was fine. But that was pretty crazy. Another one was when I was really young, we had a dog, and the dog would pull me on the sled, and my mom would be walking with me with the dog, and she let the dog go, and the dog went running off with me on the sled, and she had to chase after me. And that was a really fun story that like I personally didn't remember, but my mom told me about. I'm like, oh, that would have been really fun to watch.
It's so sweet. Yes, our kids also laugh like to slide on the icy poles.
Yes.
It's crazy sometimes. Yes. Thank you for sharing the personal story, Julian. And I think I want to ask you the last question. What are your top recommendations before visiting South Dakota?
My top recommendation would be to like visit the Black Hills, but then like Mount Rushmore. I know that's more of a tourist thing place to see, but seeing Mount Rushmore at least once is great because I've seen it a couple times and I live here. But definitely seeing that and then going to some state parks. Like the Black Hills area has a lot of state parks. Um, uh, you could visit the Badlands. It's a lot of the same, so you could like drive in and then drive back out. It's kind of the same all the way through. And then another thing I would recommend is going to the Sioux Falls area. So that's our bigger city, and that has a lot of older buildings there and newer buildings too. And they have a sculpture walk through their downtown, and it's really rich with history there. And they have museums and a couple other things
Mhm.
that would be great to see.
Cool. Thank you, Julian, for the wonderful recommendations. So I think those who want to visit South Dakota, they will follow your recommendations.
Yes.
Thank you very much. You're amazing tour guide.
Thank you. Thank
South
you for
Dakota,
having me.
yes, it's really beautiful state. Thank you very much. It was really interesting and useful for our viewers and for me to learn more about South Dakota. And I think it's time to close up our session. And thank you, everyone, for active participation. And particularly, thank you to you, Jillian, for this wonderful presentation. It was really great to have you today. And bye bye, everyone. So, see you in our next sessions. Thank you.